Hello, and welcome to another Terraflict tutorial. In this video, we're going to be going over the lands plugin, how to create a land, how to add new area and claim more land, and also how to manage permissions and invite new players. So first, we want to join the Terraflict server. And then from here, we can right-click on the compass and click on Earth, or we can come over to the NPC right here and right-click on the NPC. This takes us to the Earth map. And as we wait for everything to load in, we're going to be in the spawn of the Earth map. So from here, we can either do /RTP or go to this NPC right here. Both do the same thing. There's 6 continents that you'll be randomly teleported to depending on which candle you choose. I'm going to choose Africa, but there's also North America, Europe, Asia, South America, and Australia as well. Now when you RTP, you are not guaranteed to be in wilderness. You could be in wilderness or a claimed land. But in this case, I believe we are in wilderness. Now the way you would check this is by going into your internet browser and typing in DYNMAP.terraflict.com as shown up here in the bar. Now to go to a specific player, you would come over to this right column right here and you would click on your character. So as you can see, I am in the middle of Africa. However, there are also some other players located in Romania and then also some up in northern Canada. To move around the DYNMAP, you hold left click and drag. It loads in and moves you around to new spots. And then we go back into the game here. We're now in Africa. So I'm going to showcase how to create a nation. So for me, I can't actually create a second land since I'm already a member of one. However, I can create a camp. Both are done the exact same way, so I'll just showcase that. You can do /lands, create camp, and then the name. And again, this would be the same process for creating a land rather than a camp. You would just do /lands create instead of create camp. And then here's my little camp. Camps are very useful for starting off the game. They last for 1 day, and they start with 9 chunks in the 3x3 area. They can't be expanded, but they do offer you a teleportation spawn, so you can teleport back to them, and so for that reason they're very useful. Now, to view how much area you've claimed, you can do /lmap, or you could do /landsmap. They both do the same thing. And as you can see, we have a 3x3 area here of claimed land, which is very cool. I'll go over this interface a little bit more later. So from here, if I wanted to get rid of my camp, or if I wanted to get rid of my actual land, both are done the same way. You can do /lands, delete, and then the name of the land. And then it's going to prompt you to click to make sure, and now it has disappeared. So now I'm going to go back to the spawn of my main land, which I can do with /spawn, and this will take me back to America. So now that I'm here, I can show you about permissions. So doing /l or /lands again, I can go to roles. Specifically, we're going to be looking at untrusted. Untrusted applies to everybody who is not in your land. So this would be like every other country on the world. By left clicking and going to action flags, we can basically change what other players not in our nation are allowed to do. We can change things like placing blocks, opening containers, or being able to attack mobs, but most important is teleporting to spawn. If you want your spawn to be public so others can come to your chest shops or to be able to see your cities, you want to leave this enabled, but to disable it, you can left click to disable and then left click if you want to re-enable again. Inside of the lands menu, you can also go to the bottom left here to go back. Definitely saves you a lot of time. And if we go back again, we can showcase some of the other roles that are here by default. This role will not be here by default, this is one I created, but admin will be here by default and applies to those who you want to be able to allow to claim more land for your land, or even for those who you want to allow certain permissions like changing the name of your land or inviting new players. Now, if you want to see who has the admin role, you would go to role members. As you can see, we have 3 people. You can also change the name of the admin group, the icon, and then action flags for the specific role are here. So for example, untrusted might not be able to teleport, but admins, you could enable it so that they could, and they're completely separate permissions. To create a new role, you click here, to delete one, you click here. You're allowed to have up to 100 roles. Another important thing within your land settings are your natural flags. So regardless of role, these flags apply to your whole nation. However, they only apply to the default area of your nation. We'll talk a little bit more about areas later, but any new areas that are created will not have the default flags. But for now, let's assume you've just created your nation. Default basically applies to everywhere, so this is what you'll be looking at. You can enable or disable monster spawning, phantom spawning, and most importantly, TNT block damage. You probably want this disabled so that TNT doesn't blow up and allow for people to grief your land. But there's all sorts of different things, and again, these apply to the default area, but it applies to all roles within that area. So now that I talked about different areas, let's go and check that out. So we have a lot. You would start off with just the one default, but as you create more, it allows for different areas to teleport to and different permissions for each area. So basically how an area works is it allows for a teleport, as you can see here, as well as different permissions, as you can see here. So these are separate from the rest of your land. To create an area, you click on this and then type in the name. In this case, we'll do tutorial for the name. And as you can see, it shows up right here. Now it's not fully set up yet. All it has is a name. To fully set it up, we have to do /lands selection. From here, we can fly over to the area that we want to be within the selection. Let's say, for example, we just wanted it to be the end of this path. All we would have to do is left click to set the left corner, and then right click to set the right corner. Now keep in mind, it does take into account Y level. So for example, if I wanted it to be on the ground, I could do right here, but if I wanted it to be up in the sky, such as to include a tall skyscraper, I'd have to come up here and then right click on a block. This green outline shows where the area is included, so all of these blocks are within this new area that we called tutorial. And so the final step in creating this area is to go to /lands assign and then type in the name. It may ask you to proceed, in which case you just click and then you're all good. Now, the biggest thing about an area is that you can teleport to it. So if you have a very big country, you can set multiple areas and teleport to them to save you a lot of time. However, to teleport, you have to set a spawn. So let's do /L again, go into areas, and then tutorial. To set the spawn, you have to be standing within the area and right click on this ender pearl. And then, if you're outside of the area then, in the future, you do /L, go to areas, tutorial, and then left click to be teleported back after 3 seconds. Now let's say you don't feel like going through the GUI and clicking, there's also a command for this. /L, spawn, the name of your land, and then the name of your area within the land. In this case, tutorial, and then after 3 seconds, you'll go back. So that's the main use of an area, is to allow for a separate teleport to get places faster. But let's say, talking about teleports, you don't want to go to your own land and you want to go to another land in a different country. So the way you would do that is you do /L, spawn, and then it gives you a list of all the publicly accessible teleports. So if a country has their spawn closed, they won't show up here, but if it's open, it will. All you have to do is hit tab to cycle through. Let's say we want to go to Denmark. We can do /L spawn Denmark, and then we'll appear in Denmark's public spawn. To confirm this, we go to the DYNMAP, find that Space Gamer, and here we are in Denmark, which is very cool. So far we've gone over the roles within a land, the natural flags, how to create areas, and even how to teleport to the spawn of other lands. So now let's go over relations. Relations are pretty simple. You can either be allies or you can be enemies. As you can see, we're allied with Romania. You can add new allies here or remove them. And then enemies, you can add or remove here. This server does feature wars, so before you go to war with any nation, they need to be an enemy, so you would add them as an enemy. It would show up in sent offers and received offers. In the case of an enemy, it happens right away. In the case of an ally, it needs approval, but either way, it's going to go here first, and then when it's permanent, it'll show up in one of these two. That's pretty much all there is to relations. So now let's talk about statistics. In statistics, this shows you how many claims you have. On this server, the claims are unlimited, but there is upkeep. Right now, upkeep is $0. As of next week, it'll be $7 per chunk, meaning our 1 million claims will cost about $7 million per week. It's a lot of upkeep, but it's worth it for the unlimited claims. This also shows your nation's balance. And as I said before, when upkeep is enabled, it'll say how much time you have to pay it off and how much you have to pay. Next is player management. If you were to click on this, you could see all of the members within your nation. You can add or remove new members. This is how you invite new people. Invites pending will be shown here. Membership requests, aka other members asking to join you, will show up here. You can deny or accept. And then this will show all online members. So just those who are currently on the server. In fact, you can even go to a specific player. So that's pretty much everything within the LAN's menu. However, there's a couple little features I'd like to show off as well. So you can do /L storage in order to access about a double chest worth of storage, which can be shared between all players. So for example, if I were to take something out, it would announce it in the chat for everybody else, and they would be able to see that I took it out. So it's kind of like a shared storage between everybody, like an ender chest for your specific land. And so another thing I want to show off too is claiming. Claiming is very important to a land because it's the only way to increase your size. So let me go back to the spawn, and I can showcase this. Again, /L spawn or /land spawn to go back. And while we're here, before I show claiming, I may as well show how to change your spawn. So let's say right here is not too good and I want to move it over here. You would do /L, set spawn, and it would move it to right here. Again, it doesn't cost anything, it's just a good way to change your spawn, and I can showcase this, /L spawn, I'll appear in the new location. So, let's say I want to show off how to claim. So claiming when it comes to your land is pretty simple. First thing you do is press the F3 key and the G key at the same time. This shows chunk borders. From there, you can go into Wilderness to begin claiming. It will announce it on the center of your screen. So as I showcased with my camp that I had earlier, you can do /L or /lands map, and this will show you unclaimed chunks and claimed chunks in the local area. Now keep in mind, these arrows do not always correspond to north at the top. In this case, I'm facing south, so this one's going to be south. If I wanted north to be at the top, for example, I'd have to turn around like this. Now I can use these arrows to page through and go farther away. However, if I want to center back, all I have to do is click this in the bottom right, and it centers around me. Now this makes it very simple to claim if you already have claims, such as just clicking here. Each square corresponds to one chunk, so me clicking here is claiming one more chunk. But let's say you have no land to start off with, other than your one chunk that you get to begin with. Well, the way you would do that is you would do /claim. On this server, claims do not have to be connected, they simply have to have a coastline. So /claim claims one chunk and is shown by this green barrier here of particles. However, let's say you want to claim a lot of chunks. You would do /claim auto, and it will claim as you walk. And it'll make a little sound effect as you walk through. So now, what if you want to get out of this? What if you want to get rid of the autoclaim? All you have to do is type it in again, and it stops it. Now, a key feature to mention is that if claim auto is running and you go to the LMAP, it will not let you do anything, because you can't have multiple of these actions running at once. That's just how the plugin works. So if you want to use the LMAP, you have to go back and stop your autoclaim, and then you do LMAP, and here you are, you're good to go. So, let's say you want to unclaim. You can either do unclaim, like that, for one chunk to be unclaimed, or you can do unclaim auto, which is the same as claim auto, kind of in reverse. And then you fly through here, and the way you know you've unclaimed the chunk is the green particles will go away over a little bit of time. Again, if you want to confirm, do LMAP, and there you are. To exit out of this, you simply type unclaim auto again. So, as we've shown, we've gone over how to teleport to other nations' spawn, how to teleport to our spawn, how to set and create new areas, how to manage roles, how to manage natural flags, and even how to use the L storage. So the final thing I want to showcase in land settings are the miscellaneous settings. This is usually managed by the land owner, however some do have access. You can click on this. This allows you to change the name, enter a description, in our case it's every man a king. You can go to changing the category, which shows how your land will appear to other lands. In this case, you could change it to looking for members or looking for trade, etc., etc. And then finally the icon. You drag an item here, such as a shield, and it will change the icon of your nation. So another thing to mention is that, as I said before, it's $7 per chunk for upkeep, which gets pretty expensive for bigger nations like ours. So let's say you wanted to impose some taxes upon your people, just to make sure that you're able to pay that upkeep. Well, you'd go into taxes, and you could add $1, 50, or 500 increments until you get to the desired amount. Now, I quickly want to talk about something that you may have heard me say throughout the video. I've used the words nation and land kind of interchangeably, but the reality is there is a slight difference. A nation is allowed to have more than one land. So for example, our nation is called the American Imperium. We only have one land. The land is called America. However, let's say we wanted to colonize China, for instance, we could have America and China as two lands within the same nation of the American Imperium. Basically meaning that if you have two players who want to own separate lands, they can still come together under the same nation title. Now, in terms of a /nation command, all it really shows you is your status as peaceful or in war, the different lands that are within the nation, and of course, it also showcases some basic information, but again, it's basically the same thing as /lands. You won't have to use it that often. But just keep in mind, one nation can have multiple lands, but a land can only be a part of one nation. Keep that in mind. So, as the sun sets on Terraflict, I just want to thank you again for watching. Hopefully this tutorial was useful to you in some way. And if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the comments. Thanks again.